Alright, we better stop. I figured I'm on the wrong road, but we can't go any further in that one. So, here's the view though. Pretty gnarly country, huh? Remember we were up there?
Yeah.
We're right there. That's where they got the screenshot. There's my finger. I can't see shit on the screen, but that's where Sarah and I were that time, right there. Alright. I'm back in the cave. Just like that. Teleported. What a bizarre life this has been so far. Crazy. It's weird when you do the same thing for 6 days straight, I think it was. 5 or 6. Get up at 4. Get everything ready. Organize. Boom. Rip out into the coast. And then go to being a hunter, in a way. Sea hunter, right? And then do it again, do it again, do it again. You get caught up in it, and it's fun. It's hard work, but it's fun. And then you forget. I was telling Sarah the other day, there's 2 things that when I do them, I don't think about nothing. So when I'm fishing, I don't think about absolutely anything. I'm always 100% like hyper-focused on the fishing. And the same when I'm hunting. As soon as I go in the woods, the whole world doesn't exist. It's really weird. When I'm hunting, that's all she wrote. When I go into the mountains. It's not just the people think, why do you want to kill animals? It's just a natural action for many human beings, first off. And I like to eat too. And I like to eat healthy. So this is the main reasons. But then there's the other reason that's it's just natural. It's just what we're built. Some people are built to do. When I do it, I zone right out and I'm living at 100%. And I don't know what's going on with anything else on the planet. When I'm doing it, it's good. I miss it. I miss it. You know, I used to do 120 days straight of absolute remote. 120 days of no pavement, no nothing. Just a saddle, horse, a gun, and off you go. And then after that, I'd come home and I'd still be out in the woods every single day for another 100 and something days. Only difference is I'd be at home in bed. Mostly. At night. Now, what am I doing? I don't have any internet in here right now. But I can do this. Because every time I go to the dock, I bring my Starlink internet. And I throw that on the dock so that I can do this and more there. I gotta climb up on the roof and put my dish on the roof again. I'll do that in a minute. Still woke up at 5, so I guess I slept in. Now, we won't hear from Bobby this morning. The inbox is stacked up. I found important emails that I was anticipating underneath a stack of 4 pages of emails, just so you understand what goes on my end. Am I complaining? Nope. It's just the way it is. So, I'll concentrate on getting people shared. Whoops. Which is very, very important. As my brain slowly wakes up and I get focused. God, I've got so much. There's so much I want to frickin' do. I need 10 lifetimes at one life at a time, to do everything I want to do. It's very frustrating. I don't know. I observe and watch many people close to me, and I just see how content they are to basically what I think they do nothing. It's weird to watch how so many people have this gift of being alive and they absolutely waste it in a way. I don't do much. And meanwhile, I want to do every single thing. And I can't. And it bugs me. There's my morning rant. The UFO thing about I'm going to say about 7 to 9 years ago. I was listening to someone or reading somewhere, and I became aware of a whole slew of items that were about to be dropped on the population. And one of the final ones was to fake a UFO invasion to the public. And that made its way to a shelf in the back of my head. I took that as a real item. And sure enough, look what's going on today. So my question to everybody today would be, are you going to be duped, or are you going to take it as valid when mainstream possibly dumps on us an alien invasion from up there, not just the southern border of the U.S., right? But be aware, just so I'm sharing with you guys, I became aware of that, what now I'm considering as absolute fact, that the dirty pricks who want to control all on the planet are getting a little desperate and they're about to drop this one. I think that is true myself. So, will I be getting duped? No, it's pretty tough to dupe me at this stage of the game anyway. Now, from them people. From mainstream. Let's have another little shot of coffee, shall we? Here we go. Listen to this experience of something strange. Title of this email. Hi, Steve. Firstly, thank you so much for what you do. Use my name if you like. I am the one that sent you the info about India sightings in the Himalaya mountains of dancing Sabe, and bizarrely it was cut short. So few heard the full email. It was? Clearly the spirit world was instructed to thwart the sharing of those incredible sightings. For now. I'll have to do a search once I get online again and find it. By the way, an Indian Siddhi powers are well known, and Sabe appear to exhibit many of the 8 powers. It is also known that if these powers are misused, the powers are snatched away by the spirit world. This might explain why they are mostly respectful. Having those gifts snatched from them would make them very vulnerable, in my opinion. I lived with the coastal Salish. My nickname was Red-Headed Indian. And they know about Siddhi powers in their own way. Okay, let's spell S-I-D-D-H-I. Siddhi? Anyway, this story is of myself in a 5,000-foot mountain meadow at my teepee in my early 20s in the Kootenai Mountains wilderness. I've shared this with the Flash of Beauty, and now you. Kootenay Mountains. Now, isn't there some Kootenay on the U.S. side of the Canadian border as well? Obviously, we got the Kootenays here in BC, but they creep into Washington State, right? So I'm just curious if that's in the BC side or Washington. The only weapon I had was a knife and a heat-hardened tip spear. I heard early one morning what sounded like a bulldozer coming through the forest, and a naked 6 foot 6 inch with long red hair stepped out. Wait, hold on a minute. I heard early one morning what sounded like a bulldozer coming through the forest, and naked 6'6" with long red hair, I stepped out and saw a large bear come to the edge of the clearing, about 50 to 60 feet away, and get up on its hind legs, swaying side to side, smelling the air. I grabbed my spear and screamed loudly, "What the hell do you think you're doing here?" The bear looked my direction, and I knew in that moment if it charged me, I only had one chance to kill it, which I felt loath to do. Suddenly I saw its head went back, and looking up, showing the white of its eyes and what seemed like pure terror, it jumped backwards and ran back the way it came. I initially thought it must have been because I looked scary, a sight for sore eyes, but not now. I was relieved but confused and thought perhaps the angels were protecting me, and it was not at all down to how I looked. 40 years later now, and after realizing saw by Ken cloak, it makes sense to me that it wasn't me that scared the bear at all, but something behind me. It did indeed seem to look above my head. I couldn't make out any sense of it at that time, but now, remembering how I always felt watched, despite being myself for months on end, that it may have been something other than angelics. And of course, the spirit world would have been able to direct a large sabe to that place specifically to save my life, knowing what was about to go down. I was doing a lot of fasting and my intuition was becoming well honed, so feeling watched was no illusion, but it also felt benign. I feel huge gratitude. Jamie Hillier, living now in the Tipperary Mountains where I doubt Sabe frequent, perhaps only as occasional tourists using a portal. Love and blessings and insight to you all. This is definitely an age you're revealing, and you're all doing the work by sharing. Thanks too much. All right, there you go. Who knows? I don't know. I'm gonna have to dig up your name. I'm not online right now here in the cave. I will be after I do all this. And this is what I do know about bears. You didn't say what flavor bear it was. It wouldn't really matter because grizzlies do the same thing. They run in terror when they see us, usually. But this is what they do. Predatory mode, or curious mode. We're looking for food. They don't make noise. You're not going to hear them coming. Especially predatory. They are just a big dandelion fluff ball slipping through forest and not making any sound. So, a bear barreling through the timber sounding like a bulldozer was already scared shitless. It was already there emotionally. Guaranteed, it's one of two. When they barrel through the woods, it's one of two. They're either doing their final charge to kill something, or they're scared shitless and they're being chased, or they have something scared them and they're bolting. But 100%, I can guarantee you, he wasn't coming to get you. I have had grizzly bears as an example. I had a hunter one time say, "Hey man," this is a long time ago, I'll never forget. I shared the story online. I won't tell the whole story now, but he said, "Hey man, look at that moose." And we're in a basin, just getting to timber line. So you're in sporadic chunks of spruce and willow, waist-high willow. And I looked across the basin, which to the other side would have been around 1,200 yards. And here's this great big, huge bull moose. Bolting, boop, 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 boop. Running. He came up and over the edge into our same basin. He's running down the side of the basin towards the drain in the bottom. I'm like, wow. And he had velvet stripping off his antlers, so they're not in the rut when they have velvet on. And he's big. And I said to the hunter, I go, "Well, crazy." I was busy building a fire because it dumped snow that morning. It was early snowfall. Early season first snowfall. just a big flurry. So we got a little wet. So I was going to build a fire and have an early brunch and watch this basin. But anyway, the moose goes barreling down the side of the basin, and I go, I go watch the height of land there where the moose came from, and you're probably going to see a grizzly or a pack of wolves. It's about the only things that'll make a moose run like that right now. And if it wasn't 2 minutes later, and I went back to making the fire. Oh no! And then I'm not going to tell the whole story, but the quick rendition is 3 minutes later, that same moose came boom, 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 running right up and stopped so close to me I was looking up at it, puffing. And that's when I grabbed the hunter's rifle and was pointing at him. I'm like, get out of here, you stupid idiot, get going. We already had a moose in camp that the hunter shot. And he took off. And then, maybe a couple minutes after that, the hunter goes, hey man, look at that grizzly bear. And I looked up, I go, what grizzly bear? Right where that moose just came from. And you look up, and here's a grizzly bear ripping along the trail, stops, goes like this, sniffs, keeps on going. And then he eventually ended up in our lap. But that's a whole other story. But anyway, what I'm saying is, that's an example of when a bear goes barreling through the bush, not caring about any sound he's making. When he's in the final moments of running something down, which they obviously do. A bear will run down an ungulate until it's exhausted, then kill it. How crazy is that? How much energy is that? But anyways, getting off topic and I'm rambling a bit. I'm just saying. That's what they do. Also, I had a black bear one time. I'm sitting on I was going through thick-ass regrowth shit. Side of a steep mountain, coastal range, mountains in southern BC. And I'm wet. It's raining. Yeah, it's raining. I'm wet. It's probably midday, so I'm getting to the point I'm kind of done, in a way. And I busted out finally on this one little open mossy rock on a grade like this, where I actually had a bit of a view. So I sat down for a bit because I'd been pushing through nasty, shit-eating bush for a while. And I decided to sit down, dump my backpack, and have a snack. And I'm sitting there. And because of the rain and all the willow leaves around me, I couldn't hear nothing. But all of a sudden, this frickin' black bear. Something black. Imagine sitting there, and this is no bigger than this room. And all of a sudden, this big black thing comes ripping out of the willow about 5 feet to my right and blows across that rock face, dives into the willow below me and keeps on ripping downhill. Holy shit. You want to think about a pucker moment, right? And imagine if I was sitting right in front of that trail-ish. He would have slammed me square in the back doing Mach 5. You imagine having a bear run into you at full sprint when you're just sitting there relaxed having a snack in the woods. But anyways, there's another example of bears going full tilt. Right? Bears. Yeah, anyway, there you go. I'm rambling. That's my take on that. Do I think there was possibly a Sasquatch being behind you that scared it away? Myself, with my experience, I'm going to say you might want to rethink it. It doesn't matter the flavor of bear. When they're spooked running and then they come up on a human being, they're going to go like this. Whoa! Do a little smelling. I'm out of here. It's a typical reaction. But you never know. Sorry about that ramble, you guys. Hope it was informative. Excuse me. Fellow Vancouver Islander, I'm going to share what happened to me. Right on. I'm all over it. Okay. It's from John Doe. But then you start off with saying your full name in the first sentence. So I'm not going to say your full name because I just got a funny feeling at the end of it. You might say, don't share my name. We'll see. And if you don't, I'll share your name at the end. Hi, Steve. My name is blank blank. I'm 39. Well, hello, Adventure Doc. What are you doing? Sorry. I have a native grandma who lived on the Chehalis Reservation, and I'm sure you've heard the story of a Sasquatch harassing 3 cabins for 3 nights in the 30s. Nope. I knew the Chapman residence where the woman was chasing her kids, took off out the window of their house, and they saw the one coming up from the river and tossed over their barrel of brining salmon. She was 6 or 9 years old and seen the hand pressed against the window. I assumed it was looking into the cabin, but as she was a child, she only remembered a huge hand on the glass. I didn't realize this was a popular story until watching a documentary on YouTube and hearing my grandma's story. I was thinking it was just in the family type thing. Having a grandpa tell me that story and having her recite it over and over, I always have known they were out there. As you know, the story is coming from Chehalis Reservation, including the remaining Sasquatch gathering every 3 years on a certain mountain. You've heard that, though. I have heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. I love camping, and I believe it was around 2008 when my wife and I were camping with one of our babies at the forestry pools off Highway 18. You probably know the place. It's funny that they used to let people camp up there, but shut it down for some reason. That reason, I believe, is because the Sasquatch have made their presence known up there. So the night I had my experience, it was damp and slightly raining. I believe it was late fall. We were sitting around the fire. It was past midnight. Super quiet when we started to hear noise. It was roots breaking. Then a tree was slammed down about 100 feet from our fire. It wasn't even like a falling tree. It was more like a giant slamming it into the ground. I knew exactly what it was. I told my wife to grab our child and get in the car fast. I pulled the tent pegs out and folded the tent up with all our things like it was a bag and threw it in our trunk. We were lucky to get out because we drove down a steep bank with roots that the car bottomed out on when we drove down. I floored that car and hit the bottom of the car on those roots, and I thought the oil pan could be punctured, but I didn't care. I knew it would get us to the highway, being about 10 minutes away if we drove fast. It was fine, though, and we got home. I wish I would have went back the next day, but I didn't need any proof. I knew what did that, and didn't even think about proving it to anyone. My brother, before he passed away from an overdose, he used to watch you daily. And you're literally his best friend in the end, and I hope you know I'm grateful for you and your channel. That's sad to hear, man. It made him happy, and he was consumed by this sort of stuff. I watch your videos every day also, and have been for over 3 years now, I guess. I also have lived in a haunted house and have video of a glass candle being slid across our coffee table. My brother had a terrifying UFO encounter one night near Falkland. Falkland, that's South Central BC. When he got his truck stuck and was stranded up the mountain. But I know that's not your topic. All good, man. Let her rip. I've actually been going to the spot this happened. I've actually been going up to the spot this happened to be all by myself and staying up there hoping for another visit, but nothing yet. I've heard the Sasquatch making loud noises while staying at the sand sheds in Courtney for work. I would hear the weirdest roar type howl. I always thought that must be a Sasquatch. It's very loud. And as a hunter, I know elk sounds and cougars, and this was something with a huge lung capacity. Also behind the sand shed, up in Courtney, it looks like one had a tantrum and knocked trees down in an area the size of an acre. I always wondered if one made his presence known to a worker up there. A show of power, if you will. Just an area past the tree line is destroyed. And there's no reason for it. One of those weird things in the forest that just looks out of place. That's my story, though. Nothing crazy. And no eye-to-eye contact, but it was clearly there. Nothing here on the island pushes trees over except Sasquatch, and that's it. I love your channel. Keep up the good work. And hello to the club. Here's another one just for me. Hold on. Okay, man. Oh, hold on a minute. I gotta close that blind. Alright. Appreciate you emailing that in, man. And even if you assume that I might have heard a bunch of stuff in the past, I may not have, because when you just mentioned about the 3 cabins for 3 nights, I haven't heard that at all. So if you want to write back and share, just write back whatever you know. Dump it in there, man. All right, dump it in there, because there's literally hundreds of thousands of people listening to everybody talk here, right? Through me. And the video that I have, yeah, I just shared it to a couple fellas, and that reminds me too. I'll share some more info about that. But yeah, if anybody bumps into me, I'll show you whatever I got. I don't give a shit. But if somebody asks me not to make something public online, I'm going to respect them 100%. And there's nothing you can do to change that. It's not going to happen. That's talking to everybody. But anyways, and as far as fishing goes, for anyone inquiring about fishing with me this summer, you have to email Sarah at bookit@howtohunt.com, and she'll give you any dates available, which I don't have a clue. All I do is I go fishing, and when she tells me I'm going fishing, she tells me when they're going to be, the people are going to be there, and then I meet them at the dock at 5:30 in the morning for the first time ever. So that's how it works. I don't know what days I got open. I haven't a clue. But that's how you do it, you guys. Anybody wants to fish with me, book it at howtohunt.com. And then you can find out through her. And what else? What else? Quick note, the fellas that fish with me, great guys. From here, British Columbia. Father-son combo. And both of them have had experiences. The father has seen these beings, I think twice for sure, maybe 3 times. Also had thoughts come into his mind and seen them in his mind. It sounds a little awkward for me to relay what he shared with me this way, because I'm not as smooth as the person who experienced it, and they delivered it to me. Do I believe him as sincere? Absolutely. He saw what he saw. And he's had a bunch of experiences, traveled the world. Very educated, smart man. Aware man. And his son has a 4-year-old. Had at the 4-year, I think his child was at 4 years old at the time, and he's taking him hunting with him for, I think, the first time possibly. Got out of the truck, and this is near my stomping grounds in the lower mainland mountains. Get this one, gets out of the truck, and was getting gear out of the truck. The boy was within, right there by the vehicle, and all of a sudden his son is white in the face, scared shitless, and looking at his dad going, "I don't like the big hairy man with long arms, Dad. I don't like that man with the long arms." And he's like, "Where is he?" So he was right there. He was right there, pointing just up the gravel road from their parked. How's that one? In a way, that's a bit of a shitty thing in a way to do it, don't you think? When you see a family unit of humans right there, and there's a little 4-year-old boy standing there, and you decide to reveal yourself to him. Dirty pool. I'm sure the being did not think that way, but I do. Right? Why would you do that to such a young, innocent child, Show yourself to the dad. Anyway, sorry about that, but yeah, if we bump into each other, or anybody bumps into me, and you want to see the video, I'll show it to you. I showed it to them. I show everybody who is with me in person. Now, oh, look at this. This is analysis of emails part 2. Remember the kind lady, military background? What do we got? Hello, Steve. I finished the analysis. Hold on a minute. Sorry, more commentary in the last email. Courtney's on fire with sightings. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, a couple years ago, somebody emailed me in about some homeless people who were basically behind, is the Super Safe store that's there? Near the river mouth with timber on one side, and Courtney, I know where it is. We were just there not too long ago. Why were we there? Anyway, we went up there, Campbell River? Anyways. Might have been Campbell River. Whatever. One or the other. They're right by each other. And these homeless people were living in the wintertime. This being went cruising right up past them alongside the frickin' grocery store wall, big box store wall, and carried on right through a park. And these people who emailed us went and photographed the frickin' footprints, and there they were. A little melted out, but massive with about a 5-foot stride. I know people in Courtenay and Campbell River who have had experiences with these beings. Lots. There's a lot. And right near the highway. Right near town. All the time. Why? I don't know. Forbidden Plateau, the ski hill just up the road. That building, that ski hill was named directly related to these people. There you go. Excuse me. Analysis of emails part 2. Hello, Steve. I finished the analysis for the first 2 years of emails. Holy shit. There were 705 emails that I used. There were some I didn't use because they were about subjects other than Sabe. I'm breaking the report up into separate emails to keep them from taking up the entire episode. Don't worry about it. Let her rip. This is so interesting to me, it's silly. There are people out there who need to share their encounters, and I respect that. People reported what was most important to them. So there are only a fraction of the emails that report on any given topic. The first category is human activity at the time of the encounter. Hunting overall had 130 reports. Rifle hunting was the single most popular activity for Sabe to interrupt, with 82 reports of encounters. Bow hunting was next with 21 encounters. Stand hunting had 13 reports. Hunting with a dog or dogs was 6. Trapping had 4, and scouting for game also had 4. Camping was the second most popular activity with 74 reports. People at home reported encounters 42 times for the third most popular place to encounter a Sabe. People at home for the third most popular. Driving a vehicle had 36 reports, with 5 of those being big rigs. Fishing was the 5th most popular activity to engage in for a Sasquatch sighting, with 30 reports. Hiking alone had 13 reports. Hiking with others slightly improved your chances of not seeing one, with 8 encounters reported. Walking alone had 10 reports, and walking with others had 3. Boating of any kind had 10. Military encounters were reported at 9. Operating or repairing heavy equipment had 6 reports. Working other jobs in remote areas had 6, and so did going to the toilet outside. Riding ATVs had 5 reports. Motorcycles or dirt bikes had 4. And policing had 3. All other activities had less than 3 reports, so didn't meet the criteria for a pattern. Although, with a larger study group, they very well might. So she's looking for patterns. The next category was the age of children at their first encounter with a hairy man. This category disturbed me. There were 75 total reports, which effectively made childhood the second most likely activity to attract a Sasquatch, behind hunting with a rifle, but before camping. Since it's not really an activity, I gave it its own category. I used age 1 through 18. Even eliminating the 3 18-year-olds still made being a child one of the top 3 activities most likely to attract the attention of a Sasquatch. Disturbing is right, possibly. Possibly disturbing, meaning all these children weren't harmed, but still. The largest group was random, and I just mentioned my friend's 4-year-old son before reading this. The largest group was 12-year-olds with 12 reports. The next was 13-year-olds with 9 reports. The 8-year-olds had 8 reports. What? 5, 6, 7, and 10 and 15-year-olds each had 4 encounters. 14-year-olds had 3, as did 18-year-olds. No age reported except child had 7 reports. 4, 11, 16, 17, and teenager, with no specific age, had 2 each. 1, 2, and 3-year-olds each had 1 report. The 2-year-old and one of the 4-year-olds had symptoms of PTSD, according to the person's reporting, including running into the house crying after going out to play, not wanting to go play outside, and avoiding the play equipment they were playing on at the time of the encounter. Some people who said they had an encounter as a child either reported that they never forgot it or that they blocked it out of their mind for decades. The next category is overall appearance of Sasquatch or Sabe, with 53 reporting. The most common description was upright bipedal with 18 reports. 12 reported creatures that were both bipedal and quadruped. Excuse me. Quadrupedal when they encountered them. Starting out bipedal, then dropping to all fours or using their hands and arms to facilitate running. 4 people reported that the creatures they saw only moved on all fours. 9 reports said the being they saw looked like a human or a person. 3 people said what they saw was part man, part ape. Another 3 said it wasn't a man or an ape. And another 3 said they thought at first they were seeing a man in a fur coat. There were other descriptions, but none met the criteria for a pattern. The overall build category had 101 reporting. Huge was the most common description, with 25 people using that term. Massive was used 22 times, and large was used 14 times. Slender or thin had 13 reports. Ripped or very heavily muscled was reported 11 times. Big got used 9 times. Height is the next item, with 147 reporting. 27 said the creature they saw was 8 feet tall. 16 said theirs was 9 feet tall. 12 said they saw a creature that was 10 feet tall. 6 feet tall, 7 to 8 feet tall, and 8 to 9 feet tall each had 11 reports. 9 to 10 feet tall and 8 to 10 feet tall each had 6 reports. 10 to 12 feet tall got 4 reports, and 11 feet tall had 3. Tall had 6 reports, and giant had 3. Weight is the next topic, with only 25 reporting. 5 to 600 pounds was the most common estimate, with 7 reports, and 400 to 500 and 700 to 800 pounds each had 3 reports. Chest width is next, with 32 reporting. 4 feet wide was most commonly reported, with 17 reports. 3 feet wide and 5 feet wide each had 3 reports. Chest depth had no patterns, with only 4 reporting. I'll end the description here and include the rest of them in my next email, but I wanted to share that the creepiest behavior of the wild men, after their willingness to terrify children, is that they like to come up behind people and either breathe on their neck, sniff them, put their face over the shoulder of the human, walk up behind them, and then stand beside them, or come up behind them, either visible or invisible, to just the other side of the tree the human is sitting under or leaning against. 17 people reported that type of behavior. Best regards, Kathy. Kathy, holy shit, that is such a generous donation of time of life, what you just did for everybody here. So generous and kind. And I know I'm talking for everyone here. We absolutely appreciate your time that you're donating here. And I'm so looking forward to your next email in. So, what am I taking for that? Well, my brain, obviously, instantly focuses on the children mention, for sure. And then the next one that sticks out real strong in my mind after reading that is the coming up from behind you. Which makes sense, right? They don't like our eyes. They do not want our eyes on them, on average. These people just do not want us to see them. So that absolutely fits and makes sense with coming up behind you, but it's also pretty creepy. It's such a weird display. I've said it before. It's confusing because it is such a display of confidence. Coming up behind anything to basically breathe on your neck. But at the same time, when the eyeballs of the being you have confidence to sneak up behind makes you run like you're about to lose your soul. Right? Isn't that confusing? It's so confusing. I can't wait to find out about what exactly it is about our eyes, our eyesight. What is it? Right? And if it's not us, then who is it? Who is it that has the eyes of a human that could possibly inflict some real nasty shit on such a impressive, intimidating, massive, skilled being, right? It's very confusing to me. Our eye gaze, the gaze of our eyes really has my curiosity big time. And you know what? One thing I mentioned before is about wolves. I've come up to many a live wolf caught in a trap, and no, it's not hurting them. It's just holding them like a handcuff. And they look away. They look away. They avert their gaze. If you look away, then they'll look at you. But when you look at them, nope, don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me. Except for the alpha of the pack, he'll sit there and just look at you with absolute attitude. The alpha of the pack does not avert our gaze in any way, but all the rest of the wolves do. That's interesting, possibly to somebody, right? Very interesting stuff. Why the Children, Bobby Short, years ago, I'll never forget, when I thought I was going to be a sneaky boy and make a decoy and lure them right into me, and she said that they do come into the recording of a crying baby. A lot. Interesting, right? Can't wait to hear from you again. Can't wait. What do we got here? Follow-up to Covert Ops in southeast Kansas. Shalom, Stephen, to all. Clifford Stevens here again. You requested what covert ops I witnessed in Burlington, Kansas. My girlfriend and I had a balcony that overlooked the river dam, restrooms and RV campsites there. I watched this one and only camper there for about 2 weeks because of all the different cars that came and went. You gotta get your attention, wouldn't it? One early morning around 4:30 a.m., my girlfriend and I were getting some fresh air on the balcony and seeing lights in the woods near the river. We just thought people were night fishing. A car came pulling into where that one camper was, but no one got out. My girlfriend and I then witnessed those lights move towards the road that ran along the river there. These two lights, bright whitish blue in color, seemed to morph into two covered light cycles, similar to what was in the movie Tron. Did I read this? They pulled up behind the parked car that just arrived, and 4 men wearing light vest, bracket once again like the neon blue color from Tron. And they went to the car and escorted someone out of it, leading them behind the camper out of my line of sight. My girlfriend and I both heard a zap and then a thud. I instantly thought they must have tased this person. Then I seen one of the covert people get up on the road that leads by the river. As I look out, I suppose, because he kept looking back and forth up and down the road. These 3 covert people then came out from behind the camper in military single file with firearms ready and walked into the bathroom, and we heard 3 more distinct zaps. 3 packages that looked human were then carried out by these covert people and seemed to be loaded into these covert light cycles. As I was watching all this, my girlfriend got scared, went inside. I must have caused a flicker of light because then the one keeping watch noticed me on the balcony and turned and started straight at me from about 75 yards. I came into the apartment, closed the glass door, turned off every light, but I got on my stomach and proceeded to watch this from a corner of the door so not to be noticed again. 3 of the covert people went into the camper for about 15 minutes and then came out. All got into their, quote, light cycles, end quote, and just left. As soon as they left, the sun started to rise, and then traffic came back as if nothing went down. This was about 3 days after my encounter with the Predator. Background sound, hold on. This was about 3 days after my encounter with the Predator my girlfriend and I witnessed. We also had a rectangular crafts over the apartment. The one craft I seen was about the size of a small two-person plane from wing to wing, 100 feet above the apartment in a rectangular shape, but I could see white and red lights at both ends, but could see something like large fans on each end. That must have been air reticulated propulsion because it was silent. I really think this is mostly technology used by the Wolf Creek nuclear plant that is only about 5 miles away as the crow flies. That's going to work as security at the nuclear plant out of high school. And the sergeant/officer that interviewed me said they train with military. And it's a very serious operation. I chose not to work doing that, which I now regret, but it lends some credibility to my thoughts on why the crazy tech and having to keep the townspeople oblivious to what is truly going on there and in so many places. Could it just be normal civil authorities taking out drug dealers or taking out eyewitnesses to what my girlfriend and I witnessed during the Predator incident? I only have my cell phone currently, so I'm not hardwired to the internet at this time, so Zoom probably would just get garbled up. This is probably not going to work to do a video share. All right. That's a holy cow, right? And we definitely don't have enough people emailing in that similar story to make any kind of a pattern at this stage of the game. But there's going to be people shaking their head, obviously. There's probably a certain amount of people. Yeah. 100-something pound dog scratching his cheek shakes the whole building. But there's always going to be a group of people, a certain amount of people that shake their head at every single thing shared here anyway. That sounds pretty bizarre. But on that note, I believe I was listening to a military man, I think it was on the Sean Ryan show, a while back. They were doing a humanitarian thing in a South American country, I believe, and they ran into, this guy swears up and down, this is fact, I believe him, I believe his testimony listening to him talk, and he said that there were men there, English-speaking men, A-type, special ops, covert ops, whatever you want to call them, type men, armed. One guy said that he wanted to shoot these servicemen right there and then, and they had a craft literally hovering off the ground silent on its own, and they were loading civilians into it, as in abducting them, right? And that, I believe, is a possible pattern here since we began this crazy ass ride of sharing absolute truth. I do believe that there are some bad humans out there abducting human beings. There's just too much. There's too many eyewitnesses. There's too much evidence pointing in that direction. And then to top it off, 100% of the human beings that we have had generously share here, who allegedly have been in contact with these other people have all said, and these are different experiences from around North America, they all said flat out that there are bad human beings are responsible for people going missing. It's the bad human beings. So there you go. There's just way, way too much pointing at bad humans. There's some real scary, confusing shit going on. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Right? Some very, very scary, crazy ass shit is going on around us. And the majority of us are just like a bunch of frickin' window lickers, not being able to clue in. Wow. Well, we're getting there though, right? The kids had some friends over for the weekend and they're all outside getting ready to pile out of here. and see what the old guard dog does if she hears a voice out there that she doesn't normally hear. Game on, right? I appreciate you sending that in, man. That's a lot. It's pretty unnerving. Now, what do we got here? It's been an interesting morning so far, has it not? All right, excuse me. Hopefully the adventure dog is piped down. But I don't want her to stop barking when she hears odd voices outside. It's her job, right? Now, this is an email I've already read this morning. It was hidden under 3 or 4 pages of emails, and I believe it's important. It's meant for me, but I do not believe that there's anything in here that would... I'm going to read I'm going to read the message part of this, the knowledge part. This is a man who's literally been picked up by one of these beings as a child. And he's pursued truth for most of his life, and he's come up with a lot of it. All right? Now listen to this. This is pertaining to me making the decision to go into the woods and see if we can't get something going on. Now listen to this. I'm going to get by a couple paragraphs here. I love how you think, as I am the same way about learning and knowledge. As someone who has had telepathic communication with them several times, I'll give you my 2 cents on going in unarmed into a Sabe hotspot. Okay, here we go. I think it's definitely the best way to go, meaning being unarmed and no electronic devices, if you want to have direct contact with them. Your willingness to go into that area alone and unarmed, knowing that they are there, is your invitation and initiation with them. I would recommend, though, that you need to be clear and detailed in your parameters for your own safety. You are making yourself very vulnerable and humble in this approach, which is very good. Although I would make sure you set up good and precise boundaries of what you want and do not want to happen during your time with them. You are initiating contact and you need to be upfront with everything. And as you already know, they know your intentions and heart as soon as you come into their territory. You need to guide the interaction, and even though they can read your heart and listen to your mind, you still need to be clear and detailed of how you wish this interaction to go. Bring peace, respect, and love, both internally and externally, along with your parameters. They are surprised by humans who walk with humility and calmness of mind. And to demonstrate humility before them is showing them respect. It is best to quiet your mind and be honest and upfront with them if you have fear or concerns. Explain to them why you are doing what you are doing and wear your heart and soul on your sleeve. Even though they know what you are bringing to the table, it is always best to share openly your intentions, desires, and concerns. Basically everything. Be an open book. But I think you already know all these things. I just want things to go the best way for you as possible, and since I have some experience with this, I wanted to share. They will appreciate your presenting boundaries and being willfully open with them. If you have contact, be clear you do not want them visiting your property and home, if that is something you do not want. Or, if they're cool, they can visit and protect your property but are not allowed to take anything and not allowed to scare anyone in your home. The more clear you can be, the better. State your boundaries out loud and not just internally in your mind with them. There is power in your spoken words, so anything that is critical for you, speak them out loud with humble authority. You already know this, but don't give them any food. But you can bring them a gift as a peace offering, like some organic tobacco, or an ordainment, or an ordainment, or crystal. You want to be kind with them and show them that you are not like most humans. It might take several attempts for you to make real contact, or it might not. But it is good to shine kindness, peace, and goodness in your heart towards them. If that is what you want, in return, you must ask them to treat you the same. They should definitely respect that. You got vehicles starting up in the background. I know it doesn't bug you guys, but you know how I am with background sounds. As you know, they do not think like we do, and many things we humans take for granted and how we think and act is different from them. We cannot assume that if they know that they know, we cannot assume that if we know that they know that we do not want them coming onto our property, and that will be good enough to keep them away. Hold on. The noisy truck. Mine. That's Sarah taking off my truck. It's like having to write everything down in a contract. And if it isn't in the legal contract, it can't be up to them to interpret things as they want. Sorry. You got thrown off the background sounds, right? I'm going to read that sentence one more time, you guys. Sorry. It's like having to write everything down in a contract. If it ain't in the legal contract, it can be up to them to interpret things as they want. Does that make sense? We must be clear on the important things. In my opinion, the Sabe are tricksters. They lie, or at least will not tell you the whole truth, just part of it. If you want real truth from them, ask them to share the whole truth and not to lie. Most contactees with Sasquatch fail in this regard. They look at the Sabe as just forest people and assume that the answers they give are whole or true, just like we assume other humans do when we ask them questions. I do not believe they're demons or Nephilim. Bracket, as I have encountered real demons, and they are definitely not them, and bracket, but believe they are something different. We can discuss what that is in person if you're up for that. My point is that you, in a way, need to know this about them, that they are tricksters, and you need to set up parameters first before real answers can properly be given. We think it is impolite to not trust others, humans, at their word if they say something. We cannot do that with them. We must respect them for sure, but they will take us on a ride if we allow them an opportunity to do so. That is, we cannot treat them like we treat other humans, even though we know they are part human. They will find a loophole in their interactions with you if parameters are not set first to keep that from happening. We cannot just assume that they are going to be truthful, like how we treat other human people. If you don't state your intentions, terms, and words clearly, firmly, and with humble authority, they can, and probably will, lead you along and tell you what you probably want to hear. If we ask them questions, we already know what is inside of us that we hope the answer will be. Hold on a minute. If we ask them questions, we already know what is inside of us that we hope the answers will be. They know this, and I believe tend to give the answers we secretly want from them. This is something we have to be aware of going into communication with them, and most people who seek contact with them do not understand this. Picking up what you're putting down clearly. Another thing I recommend to use is external protection with them. Okay. If you are Christian, wear a cross. If you are spiritual but not religious, use anything that is empowered by you for protection, like a crystal pendant or something else. If you have more Native American spiritual beliefs, you can use an amulet according to their beliefs. You must have to have faith in it in order for it to work. You can believe that the cross has power for personal protection. If so, great, use that. If not, use something else that you can wear on your person that connects you with the Creator, divine, or higher power. This does not work, but it doesn't have to be just Christian. You can be any spiritual faith to receive protection. I know a man who lived in Norway who had a negative encounter with a Sasquatch who was a pagan. He followed the ways of his Viking ancestors, and he rebuked this being in the name of Odin, and it stopped him in his tracks and fled screaming. My point is that spiritual protection isn't just by the blood of Jesus. It can be in many ways. If you use a talisman, amulet, or something for protection, you need to charge it to protect you specifically from them. I personally would not go into their territory without this kind of personal spiritual protection. Not because you live in fear or afraid, but because you want to live a life of freedom, truth, and love. All right. I have a lot more to share about communicating with them and protection, but I can save these things for when we can have a talk face to face. Okay, then it just gets in a conversation directly between me and this man. All right, there you go, you guys. That's a part of the message this email I want to share with all of you, all right? And it does make sense to me. And one thing, the pattern that blasts out in my mind from hearing from this man again, that really stands out is the fact that they are tricksters and they lie to us. And I do understand they are not the same as us. They don't think the same as us, right? And that's going to be quite confusing for a lot of human beings to hear and then make sense with, right? So far, I have had, I believe 100% of the people so far who have contacted me and allegedly have had communication with these people, 100% of them said that they don't quite tell the truth, that they are tricksters. And that is an in-your-face pattern, right? I find it amazing. I just find it absolutely amazing just the fact that they will reveal themselves to us and let us know they're here. That's possibly a big part of being a trickster in a way anyway, right? I mean, why would you bother with humans? Think about it. If you were possibly living elsewhere, free, from what we know, more free than us, but we don't know that for sure. Why would you even bother with us? This shit show, right? And I'm not saying being a human being is a bad thing, but right now, currently, there is a small number of people are creating a lot of havoc, pain, and suffering, and evil and darkness for millions of people alive today, and that shit show is going on in your face everywhere. So what I'm saying is, why would you want anything to do with human beings at this stage of the game? Any stage of the game, if you didn't have to. If you could live out in the real world, which I love, possibly more than anything, why would you even bother with this shit show? Why would you bother revealing yourself? Why would you bother tapping on windows, showing yourself in a window, chasing a car, standing in front of the car, whatever? Well, being a trickster is an easy explanation for that, right? Messing with humans. It's like the commercial. The TV commercial, messing with Sasquatch. Well, no, you got it's actually more the other way around, messing with humans. Anyway, I don't even know how long I've been sitting here, but it sure is easier here for me. It's funny how background sounds really throw me off. I guess maybe possibly it's because my senses are so in tune, then they're not. I have to be aware of everything at all times, no matter what I'm doing. On average, with my outdoor life, my senses are on fire all the time. I have to pay attention to sounds. And when I'm on the water, especially with other lives under my supervision, any odd sound is catching my attention. So what I'm saying is, that's probably why background sound drives me bonkers when I'm trying to do this. And it's not easy for me on the boat, which obviously you can tell the past few videos I've thrown down. So I like being here. Or I like being in the forest against a tree somewhere. That's smooth for me. Babbling, that's the end of the emails. For anybody who's my voice annoys. That's the end of the email part. Now, what else do I got? Probably lots. There's a lot more emails to be heard. But that should suffice for this morning. And now I gotta go put some safe footwear on so I can climb up on the sheet metal roof and reattach my internet link, get that set up so I can get this delivered to the world, and then carry on with my chores. What else? That's about it. There's a bunch of crazy shit going on in the leadership department of the Western world right now. Many countries are going through some big changes. And I'm not talking about politics. What I am talking about is just the fact that the leadership role is up for grabs. And in a lot of Western countries right now, and I found myself thinking recently, I almost said it loud in my head, who needs a frickin' leader? Right? Do any of you actually wake up in the morning and think, oh man, I really need to hear from a leader today? Said no one ever. Right? Really need a leader. Do you need a leader? Think about it. Do you need a leader? Oh, you adults out there. You lead. You are the leader for your children, your family, and you also have input with your friends and people you care about. You have input, but you don't have to lead them, right? I know I might not be making sense, but I might in a minute. Who knows? Who needs a leader? Who needs a leader? I don't need a leader there is nothing in any form of any type of quote leader I need in my life for nothing. I know what's right and wrong. I know what needs to be done, and I know what I need to do to help my community, our family. I know what needs to be done. Right? But I do not need one human being in one position which I would look at and call him my leader. Not a fucking chance. Are you kidding me? It's funny, isn't it? This shit show is absolutely amazing. Anyway, think about it. Do you need a leader? Anyway, what am I doing now? Oh, here's something I can show you guys. I should have done it at the beginning. I put it on the community page, and I put it on the community page on the main YouTube channel. We had a very skilled, kind lady, Angela Hutchison from Australia, turned me into a cartoon character. Very skilled. Maybe I'll just post it up instead of holding my phone. I'm guessing the antlers in my head are from when the antlers are behind me when I'm sitting in a certain position here, right? And a bunch of quotes. That's pretty good, isn't it? Excuse me. It's funny, I had to screenshot it because the other way I don't know what's it called, the vector, when I saved it to my phone, when you download it, only that, it came up like this. Is that even focusing? Probably not. With a black background. I guess it must be the layers or something, because that's what it's supposed to look like with all the little quotes around it. It's not focusing, is it? Whatever, I'll get that issue solved out. Anyway, there you go. That's all I got. I got a lot of crazy ass video I made on the water last week. I actually put a frickin' $700 GoPro on my fishing rod line and sent it down, attached to some baits, looking down to see if I could videotape salmon hitting, and I did it. I already showed that, right? I did it again yesterday, but with a big salmon, but I didn't get the chomp on video, just the fight. Anyways, what I'm saying is I have a whole pile of real cool clips I want to share with everybody. That's going to take time to edit that shit up. But in the meantime, there you go. I'm out of here. Share my story at howtohunt.com. The link is in below in the video description. All right? The email link is below where you can share your knowledge. Okay? What else? Sarah's decals are frickin' literally going around the planet. I'll have to ask her later what her country count is, but it's right up there. I think some of these stickers even went to Asia. Crazy, right? England, Australia, New Zealand, obviously United States and Canada, Norway, Germany. Yeah, it's crazy. The conversation starter of all time, right? The Club of No Return decal. And there's no Bigfoot on it. There's no nothing on it. It's just somebody with their arms up in the air saying, what the hell? Right? On that decal. The conversation starter. If anybody does have a direct interaction with an innocent human being coming up to you at the gas pump or at the grocery store parking lot, hey man, what's that sticker about? I would love to hear what your replies to those people are. I would love to be a fly on the wall to see the expression on their face, or how many people actually go, oh wow, I actually had an encounter, or my dad did, or my coworker did. That is going down. Somewhere around the world today, that conversation is going down because of that decal. Sticker. You know what I'm saying? Very interesting. Oh, anyway, the link for those is as well in the description below. And that's it. Enough of my annoying voice and our rambling. And tomorrow, we're definitely going to hear from Bobby Short again tomorrow. And a whole bunch of other honest, courageous, brave people. See you tomorrow.